Yeah, so this has been out there, I guess, for about 2 or 3 months. I've been reporting on this, and want to give all the credit to the sources out there who continue to give me the information that allows me to do this. The thing is, what they're trying to do is they're trying to wrap up the Mando-verse. We know that now also from the announcements at Star Wars Celebration. They're going to wrap it up. They're going to do a movie with Dave Filoni leading that movie effort to be the culmination of all the things Mando-verse. It seems to me that they had always intended for that to go longer, and the fact that they're wrapping it up now makes me wonder, is Jon Favreau ready to leave? But they're wrapping it up, and I suspect that that has something to do with the reporting that I did 2 or 3 months ago, that they want to put Baby Yoda / Grogu with Rey, and they want to do that in order to protect the character, because there's no incentive for Star Wars fans to go see this. Now, I do want to bring to your attention also that Star Wars Celebration, they're making a big hurrah about all of this. Of course, there's tons of money behind it, but there is no doubt that this is extremely unpopular. And the way that you can know it is the number of people watching Star Wars Celebration online. Is everybody ready for this number? Because it's going to blow your minds.
Yeah, let's hear
the number
it.
The number of online watchers.
We have the story here. What's the number watching Star Wars Celebration?
22,000 is the high point for Star Wars Celebration online. That is all that they are pulling currently for Star Wars Celebration. If you can believe it, there is no anticipation.
Yeah, that's the numbers you get from your average YouTube channel over 2 million in subscribers.
It's definitely not good.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is like watching a fantastic funeral. I mean, they're going all out, but the audiences have checked out. So what are they going to do? The Mandalorian has dropped its audience in at least half. We're watching that audience number drop even farther. Nobody watched Andor. The Book of Boba Fett was dreadful. Everybody left after Kenobi. And they can bring Rey back. They can attempt this, and they can even package it with Baby Yoda, thinking that, oh, well, at least families will go see it no matter. But now that they are just desecrating this franchise, I don't think anybody wants to participate in that. If you think about what this means, them bringing Rey back specifically to have her restore the Jedi Order, well, that's just another slam on the original story, on George Lucas' vision. Anakin is no longer the chosen one, and Luke Skywalker no longer brought the Jedi back. It's Rey. She's a Palpatine. So in some strange way, the way that Kathleen Kennedy has structured this now, Emperor Palpatine is the good guy in the story, because he creates the offspring that saves the galaxy
from his own tyranny, ironically. Yeah, and at this point here, after seeing the last few episodes of The Mandalorian, it feels more like Jon Favreau has checked out as opposed to trying to tell a good story. And so far on the roster, I don't see Jon Favreau actually doing anything on Celebration for at least today. You've got a lot of Tony Gilroy. You've got Dave Filoni on the lineup. I haven't seen Favreau, but if he is there, please point it out to me, because I'm interested to seeing his discussion on stage in front of this. And it is physically there over at D23. It is a packed house.
Sure.
So from the perspective of the people on stage and working that, they're probably not even paying attention to the low turnout in online viewership.
Here's another thing to note too, and somebody will have to work to go find the clip if you want to play it during the show. But there's a point where they bring out the people who worked on, I believe it's on Andor. They bring them out on stage to talk about it, and they bring out different people, and there's this huge audience applause, and people stand on their feet, and then they call out, "Executive producer Kathleen Kennedy," and she walks out. And even these people, who have to be the craziest Londonite Star Wars fans ever, they go dead silent for Kathleen Kennedy. And Kathleen Kennedy throws her hand up like she's going to wave, and then drops it down immediately, so you can tell she goes, whoa. I mean, it's palpable.
Was it
I'm amazed that
palpatinable?
she wasn't booed.
Well, in most settings she'd be booed, but not in this setting. That would be difficult, I think.
Even if they did, they'd change the audio to where we couldn't hear it.
Yes, exactly.
They're saying boo earns or boo. I believe they're saying boo earns, sir.
Should have maybe had the music swell when she came out.
Yeah.
So yeah, but just to sum up for those that have joined us since we started talking about this, we now have more than 1,000 watching. Everyone, please smash that like, help share this stream. Just to get into it right away on today's Star Wars Celebration Europe, we got not one but 3 movies announced. One is a James Mangold directed movie that will go back to the dawn of the Jedi. So basically, one in the past. Then we have a movie that takes place in the quote unquote present, which will be directed by Dave Filoni. And this will round out the story begun in the New Republic with the Mando and the Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka, what have you not. All of this will be concluded in this movie by Dave Filoni. And then in the future, we have a third movie by Charmin Obaid Chinoy, which will be set after the events of Rise of Skywalker. And this one features Daisy Ridley back as Rey, as she builds a new Jedi Order. So here then is our post-sequel trilogy, which takes place over the course of 3 timelines. Now, we've heard some bits and pieces here, but I want to hear from each and every one of you how excited you are of this then 3 time zone trilogy, if indeed it does happen. Culture, does this make you excited for Star Wars again?
No, because of the people that are involved here. I mean, I'm not interested in any of the new films. I'm out of Star Wars. As far as I'm concerned, and I've said this before, Star Wars is dead. The interest in even the most popular thing, Grogu, has waned substantially. I personally don't feel like anything that was presented here is something to get excited about, and I'm very concerned that they brought in a pretty radical activist in Charmin Obaid Chinoy to be a part of this new vision for Star Wars. So, yeah.
Script, how about you? How excited are you for this new trilogy?
I would say my interest is more like looking at a car wreck or some sort of tragic accident. What can I learn and study from this, as opposed to can I be entertained? I'm having also, given Disney's track record over the past 5 years, having some doubts that they'll be able to pull this off. I know they have fully intentioned to do so, but will they be able to actually pull it off? And if they do pull it off, what are the odds that there's going to be a new head of Disney at that time? Because what is it? Iger's only there for about 2 more years.
Yeah.
And so that means that they have to rush this into production to get it out under Iger. But if they can't, then you're going to have a new head of Disney at the helm, and we'd have no idea what direction that person's going to want to take. And one of the habits that happens in Hollywood is that when a new head comes into power, they tend to like to discard everything that's in development or in pre-production in favor of going in their own direction that they can put a stamp on. So I don't know for sure if this is going to happen. For those that are going to be working on it, like a crew, people that don't have some of the crazy ideologies on that, talent and crew to a degree, I wish them luck, and I hope they get the work. But with the habit that we've seen, the patterns that have been displayed by Disney and Lucasfilm suggest that the likelihood is going to be very difficult for them to pull off.
Yeah. And as for myself, what has me the most worried here is actually the Dave Filoni project. Because if Tom has taught me one thing, it is not, well, actually, Tom has taught me many things, but one of them is to not trust Dave Filoni as far as I can throw him. And what Jon Favreau said about there not being any kind of external influence on The Mandalorian, I believe it was an external influence that made him say that. I think that Jon Favreau is no longer as in charge of Star Wars as we would like to believe, that Filoni, if anything, has more sway, being a closer allied to Kathleen Kennedy. And that has me worried about The Mandalorian and where that is headed. It has me worried about the past because the director, he's another close ally of Kathleen Kennedy, who will be very happy to twist Star Wars into something else, make a new origin that's going to fit right in with the end, and make Rey the uber girl boss the whole time. Tom, what say you?
Well, first of all, secondly, I don't care. I've been so far past this now that it just makes me giggle. It's kind of like just watching somebody that you dislike constantly fall flat on their face at this point. I mean, really, what's going to end this quicker than anything else is if you bring Rey back. Let's be real. Nobody likes her. Nobody wants her. I'm not surprised by it. We've been hearing about it for a while. And if Kathleen Kennedy knew there was one way to piss off everybody, that was it. At this point, it's nothing. Filoni, I don't trust him as far as I can throw him. I know that's the one thing that's getting a little bit of buzz is the Ahsoka trailer. I haven't even bothered watching it yet because I don't give a shit. Mangold, he's getting this for basically probably putting up with all the Indiana Jones crap. Although, let's not forget, he was supposed to direct a Boba Fett project at one point. Yeah, I'm very surprised of the one person who isn't here.
Yeah, Jon Favreau, right?
No, well, besides Jon Favreau, that's his big.
Also George Lucas. Yeah.
Well, no, Rian Johnson. I thought he was getting his trilogy.
No, they already announced that's not happening a couple months ago.
No, they never officially announced it.
But the other part too is Andre. Yeah, I think Favreau is accurate. There is no external conflict pushing in on him. It's all internal. It's the people inside the room with him that's pushing back and telling him he can't do stuff. If that is the case, if there is that tug of war going on there,
he kind of signified that in an interview of sorts.
Yeah,
because he was asked how he had to deal with the changing things with Gina Carano and all that business, and he said, "Well, I seen it as a challenge and all that shit." It's like, yeah, I challenged you, all right.
He was being extremely diplomatic. That's what he was. Even though it was something that obviously was detrimental to everything he was trying to do. But WDW Pro, now we have learned of not one but 3 movies. Did your sources see this coming? Obviously, you knew of Rey because I believe you were one of the first, if not the first, to break that and make a video about it. But here, 3 movies. Are you surprised by that? And have you heard anything from your sources about which direction they may be taking this?
Well, I'm not surprised at all by the 3 movies. We knew that they needed to make some kind of splash. It's whether or not those movies actually get made that are probably of most interest. They can announce whatever they want. But with the 3 movies, one thing to note here is that they have the Rey movie coming. And as I've said before, and I think this was a source of major contention behind the scenes, I think this is why we saw some writers leave Lucasfilm again. This idea that they need to tie Baby Yoda, Grogu, to the Rey character, and that's in order to protect her. They don't want to put Rey back out there again and do more damage to Star Wars, especially the sequel trilogy, which is a definite possibility. If you put Rey in her own movie and nobody shows up at all, well, that damages the theme parks. It damages merchandise for the sequel trilogy, although that's already fairly non-existent. But there are major concerns about putting her out there by herself. At the same time, Jon Favreau has a sweetheart deal with Disney, where as long as he continues producing this Mando-verse content, his characters are his. He has creative control over them. And I think there's been some major negotiations in the back. And that's why we were getting this second Mando-verse film that's going to conclude all of the stuff we've been watching on Disney+. And that may also be why we're watching Lucasfilm now scramble to move everything into the High Republic era, which, by the way, is one of the most unpopular things you could possibly do. It's so unpopular, this High Republic era. It's so unpopular that when they contracted Barnes and Nobles to have to use in-cap space in their stores to put High Republic novels. And by the way, in-cap space inside of a bookstore is the most sought after real estate in that store. Barnes and Noble had such bad success with trying to get people to buy High Republic that they actually started putting it on the ground. We have photographic evidence of this on that Park Place from multiple stores. They started putting it on the ground in front of the end cap so that they were contractually still okay to do so. But then they started putting the Timothy Zahn novels from 30 years ago in that space because they found a loophole that allowed them to do it. That's how unpopular the High Republic is. So am I surprised by 3 movies? No, they have to get something. They've got to wrap up the Mando-verse so they can get Grogu with Rey. They have to get Grogu with Rey because they're scared to death to put Rey out there by herself. They need kids who've been watching The Mandalorian to say, Mommy, I have to go watch Baby Yoda on a movie. That's the whole idea. Because think about it this way. When we went through the sequel trilogy, why did people go see the films? They went to go see what happened to the original characters. And Rey was fine in the first film, right, in The Force Awakens, and nobody really hated her at that point. There were some people out there who had some concerns. Then you came to The Last Jedi, and people were just appalled at what they had witnessed. The only thing that saved then The Rise of Palpatine, the third film, the only thing that saved it from being just completely abolished at the box office was the fact that there were so many people who had watched these films since the 70s. And they were saying, I have invested, 2/3 of my life. I have invested half my life. Whatever it is, I have loved these characters, and they have treated this terribly. But I am going to go watch and see what happens in the end. I have invested this much time. I'm going to do it. And there were enough of those people that it still made over $1 billion. But without that thing, without that MacGuffin to draw people in and force them to go to theaters, there's no Luke, there's no Leia, there's no nothing. There's Baby Yoda. You really think that's going to do it after what we're watching? After this latest Lizzo and Jack Black episode, you really think Baby Yoda is going to force people to go watch Rey again? I think not. Now, one thing I do want to bring up, this is exclusive, and I'm working on it. This is also rumor and speculation, but I had the world exclusive on Rey coming back to play, or Daisy really to come back and play this character. But I do want everybody to know I am hearing from sources that this is a multi-movie contract that she's signing, that there's a single movie on the contract, and then there's an option for 2 more. Whether or not those options happen, I don't know. That will probably depend on the new leadership at Disney, which I think there will be a massive overhaul at the company. And then it also depends on the reception of this movie. But I do have a bit of schadenfreude here because I recognize that this is truly, for everybody out there who's depressed about this is your chance. They have literally given you the chance of a lifetime to say back to them exactly what you think about this character and about this sequel trilogy. Because if nobody shows up, then the Emperor has no clothes anymore. I'll say this one last thing and then hand it back to everybody, but it's also interesting to me that at the same time that we've just watched Marvel Cinematic Universe implode by going full-on MCU, that is to take Phase 4 and turn it into a gender-swapping excursion in boredom, well, guess what we're getting with Star Wars now? Star Wars is going to double down, triple down, quadruple down on that theme. Look at every property they're doing. In The Mandalorian, Bo-Katan is now basically the hero there, not the Mandalorian. He's become inept in the same pattern that we've witnessed before. Ahsoka is a movie, of course, or a series, of course, that's all about a female lead. We have The Acolyte, which we said in the High Republic, and is led yet again by women. No problem there if that's what you want to do. But I don't know that swapping Star Wars completely over to being the Force's female is a highly successful endeavor. And then finally, we have Rey returning yet again, so that Luke is not the person who creates the Jedi Order. Anakin is not the one who is the chosen one. It's all Rey all the time. And so I am now calling this Stargirls, because that is what Kathleen Kennedy has made it. And so I congratulate Kathleen Kennedy. She has succeeded in pushing her Force's female ideology, as I believe that she's preparing to go out the door, maybe later this year, maybe next year. But as she exits, she is blowing all the cachet that she has, and she is creating Stargirls. It is impressive to watch. Like Pharaoh in the story of the Exodus, this lady continues to harden her heart, while Star Wars fans just say, let my characters go.
Yeah, so basically the good news here, as you see them, is that they have presented us with an opportunity to not see the next 3 movies coming out.
It's like a boxer that sticks their chin out at you. I mean, it's amazing. I can't believe they're giving us this chance.
Yeah. No, I agree. I do hope that many will reward Lucasfilm by taking the opportunity to not see these products or spend any kind of money on them. Culture, do you think that there are many potential fans there that can be brought back with the right trailer and will be flocking to see these 3 movies? If
I
indeed
still
they
feel,
are made.
yeah, I still feel, and I mean, this is probably as concise as I can put it. I still feel like there are maybe 30% of the fans left that might be interested in seeing some new Star Wars film. But if the numbers from The Mandalorian are indicative of, or indicate, if they indicate what I think,
Indicative. That's one of those weird
was the word I was
syllabic
trying to-
words.
yeah, I was trying to say that properly, but no, if it basically indicates that the interest in even Grogu's falling off a cliff. I mean, Pro's done a great job covering the ratings over there, and obviously here on Midnight's Edge we've done the same, where the ratings have just fallen off for this show. And I don't know that bringing Rey and Grogu together is going to work. I feel like a lot of us are going to call that out for what it is, which is just Mando with Rey. You just replace Rey and Mando, and or swap them, and you're settled there. I'm not saying there won't be any interest in a film like that, but I don't see it doing very well. I think, again, as Script mentioned and Pro mentioned and a lot of other people are going to mention, the even idea that this film actually gets all the way through production and to a screen has to be questioned at this point. And you know what?
It's funny you say that, Culture, because I was just going to suggest, what if they're just announcing all this shit because they're going to try and sell Disney?
Well,
How about sell Lucasfilm?
Yeah, that would be more.
Well, they'll sell Disney altogether.
There have been
They'll never
the
sell Disney.
rumors that Iger has been having talks with Apple have been picking up steam in the last 48 hours here.
So
I don't know what to think
again.
about that.
You may not think
the
that's a
biggest story ever.
possibility.
What court's
But-
going to allow it?
Yeah, that doesn't mean they won't have to divulge of certain things, just like Warner did. But
You know what would be the funniest thing if Apple were to buy Disney? I would love to watch all the Disney people, and I don't think this is going to happen, but if it were, in whatever universe it happens, there's a multiverse, right? Maybe it does happen somewhere. Maybe I'm Batman
Well,
as
I'd love to address that, but I'm not going to distract you. So make your point.
But what would be so lovely about this is if, in that very odd chance it occurs, there would be John Lasseter with arms wide open, welcoming back all of the animators to Apple and saying, "Who's ready for a hug? Who's ready for a hug?"
That would be hilarious.
Yeah, I don't think this film is going to bring in anybody. I don't think any of these films are going to bring people in. I mean, I'm going to watch the TV ratings closely for Ahsoka and see if there's anything left there. And if they're really going to use this activist radical lady to try to bring in the Let's Get High Republic, I have a feeling that's going to be all women centric, because that's all this lady wants to do is push that. So
no, there's going to be a male character. It's that little baby Yoda. That's enough for you. You don't need any other males in the movie. Come on.
No, I don't.
You're trying to change Stargirls.
I like Stargirls, but I don't like what they've done with Star Wars. So I don't know. We'll see. I don't see a lot of people going to see that film. I have a feeling that this would actually be a flop for Star Wars, which really they've only had one, that we can all call a flop in Solo. But would they make like a major investment in a film that was going to flop? I don't know. Maybe we'll see what happens with Indy. I think Indy is going to be a telltale for Lucasfilm. And I think that might determine whether or not they'd be willing to part with and or license out any Star Wars stuff in the future. But that's just my thoughts.
I think Culture's absolutely on it, because this summer is going to be the barometer for Disney. And you could see Indy be a box office bomb. I don't know that that will happen, but you could see that. It's looking more and more likely that you will see Elemental, the next Pixar film, be a bomb. And if you see multiple failures at the box office from Disney, then that will get the very quick attention of so many as they begin to realize this whole ship is sinking. The only positive out there is that somehow it seems that perhaps The Little Mermaid will manage right now to do okay. But if they continue the type of marketing they've been doing for that, and if that ramps up before it releases, they may even self-sabotage their only opportunity to have $1 billion film this year, other than Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
I'm not so sure Guardians is going to do so hot now either, to be honest. Not after Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I think that the entire Disney and Marvel brand has taken it to the chin. And I don't know that the excitement for even Guardians of the Galaxy is there. I mean, just look at The Mandalorian. The audience has been halved. And it's not that it was like that there were massive viewers for the first episode of season 3 of The Mandalorian. No. There were so many people that never came back, that lost interest since season 2 and just weren't back again. I'm seriously starting to think that may just happen with Guardians of the Galaxy too, that people have lost faith in the brand to the point that Guardians of the Galaxy Part 3 ain't going to be enough to bring them back again.
Well, I would agree with you, Andre. I would say that the shareholders meeting has already shown you how the tide has turned against Disney. When you have, retail shareholders such as myself and others being able to circumvent the screening process to really put, Iger's feet to the fire, I'm not sure they're going to be real excited to go into next year's annual shareholders meeting, knowing full well that they're going to be called out for all of their activities. I strongly suspect that we've already seen indication that the fans overall of Disney brand have turned on them and they want their family company back.
Isn't it interesting, too, that at the same time that Disney has lost their audience and abdicated their throne as the king, queen, and everything in between of family entertainment, that simultaneously the Mario movie is doing fantastic. It's blowing every expectation. Every time you check on it, the number has climbed higher on the ceiling for this thing.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's currently on the trajectory to possibly be the biggest film for Illumination in its history. Yet critics despise it. They hate it. They loathe it. They can't stand that Princess Peach needs to be rescued. Yes, it's problematic. It's part
Actually,
of
she doesn't even really need to be rescued. That's not the part they have a problem with.
Gentlemen, before we get into Super Mario, are there final words on Star Wars? And then we'll do the Star Wars.
Here's my final words on Star Wars, Andre. Fuck Star Wars.
Script. Do you have anything to add to that, or do you stand with Tom on this one?
No, all I say is that in good hands, any franchise will survive, and they just don't have good hands right now. That's basically it. A great movie will definitely bring Star Wars back. However, it will not be at the box office. It will literally be once it gets to VOD and word of mouth, because the brand is so damaged that it'd be remarkable if it was able to actually have a huge box office success with a great Star Wars movie again. It's just a lot of people are going to be very doubtful of that. But as time goes on and they decide to check it out on VOD or rental, or if it's on streaming service, that could be where people start to realize, oh, wait, hey, these other creators that have took the reins of Star Wars can make a good movie. I don't see that happening with this Rey film coming up. I don't think it's going to be happening for many years to come until we see some of the old guard retire or leave at their own accord, and some fresh blood with a passion for telling a story instead of preaching an ideology take the reins.